Today, the Kuwaiti dinar is the most expensive currency in the world, with one Kuwaiti dinar is worth $3.26. But how does dinar become most expensive currency? How is a currency's value actually decided? Can Kuwait simply choose to make one dinar equal to 5 or even $10? And if so, how? Let's find out. In today's video, you'll learn some very important and fascinating facts about currency and economy. So make sure to watch till the end. To understand the Kuwaiti dinar, we first need to look at a bit of its history. You might be surprised to know that until 1959, the currency used in Kuwait was actually issued by the Indian government. The Indian Rupee was the official currency there. And not just in Kuwait, but across the entire Eastern Arabian Peninsula, including Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman. The Indian Rupee was used as the official currency, because from 1763 to 1961, the Gulf region was under British influence. At that time, Kuwait was under the control of the Ottoman Empire, and its ruler was Mubarak al-Sabah. In July 1897, he invited the British to Kuwait to provide protection services, since the region didn't have its own army or military power. Later, in January 1899, a treaty was signed with the British, giving them control over Kuwait's national security and foreign policy. The British then decided that it wasn't profitable to create a separate currency for such a small population, so they chose to use the Indian Rupee, which was already in circulation in British India. As a result, the Indian Rupee became the official currency used in Kuwait. Back then, one Indian Rupee was equal to one British pound. But in the 1950s, the Indian government faced a problem. Many smugglers were bringing gold from the Gulf countries and selling it in India, then taking Indian rupees back to the Gulf. Slowly, this led to a serious drop in India's foreign cash reserves. So, in 1959, Indian government created a special currency called the Gulf Rupee, which was used only in Gulf countries and not valid in India. This meant that if smugglers sold gold and took Indian rupees to the Gulf, they couldn't use it there, leading to a sharp decline in smuggling. At that time, one Kuwaiti rupee was equals one Indian rupee equals one British pound. These Gulf rupee notes looked exactly like Indian rupee notes, except their serial numbers began with the letter Z. In 1961, after gaining independence from the British, Kuwait introduced its own currency and named it the Kuwaiti Dinar. At that time, its value was fixed at one Kuwaiti dinar equal to $2.8, which at that time was the highest in the world. Until today, it consistently remained in number 1 position. So why was the dinar's price set as the highest in 1961, and how does it remain the most expensive currency today? There are 5 main reasons. Oil. Kuwait is one of the largest oil exporters in the world. It produces around 2.5 million barrels of oil per day. To buy this oil, you have to pay in Kuwaiti dinar, and since every government has a limited supply of currency, so dinar is also limited. If anything is limited and its demand is very high, its price automatically increases. This is called currency demand and supply. It says that the value of any currency depends on how much other countries need or demand that currency. For example, if someone wants to buy rice from America, or a tourist wants to visit America, or an investor wants to invest money in America, they will all need US dollars. But since they don't have US dollars, they will first give pound to the federal bank and exchange them for US dollars. This means there is a demand for US dollars, and that's what's called currency demand. The higher the demand for a currency, the higher its value. That's why, just like oil, the demand for dinar is also very high, which pushes its price up significantly. But the day oil runs out, its value will automatically begin to fall. Unofficially, the most expensive currency in the world is Bitcoin, which currently costs around $120,000 for one Bitcoin because it's limited. Only 21 million Bitcoins exist globally, out of which 19 million are already in circulation. So its demand is very high, and that's why its price is also very high. But remember, just because a currency has high value doesn't mean that country has more money. Just like some people measure water in liters while others use gallons. And even though a gallon is 4 times bigger than a liter, it doesn't mean they have more water. It's simply a conversion ratio. Similarly, Kuwait can choose to make one Kuwaiti dinar equal to 5 or even $10 if it wants to. How that works, we'll discuss later in this video. Debt. This also helps us understand another reason why currencies like the dinar are strong. For example, $1 equals 5.44 Libyan dinars, which is quite high, even though Libya is an underdeveloped country. Still, its currency remains strong because Libya has no foreign debt. Similarly, Kuwait also has no debt. In fact, it lends money to other countries. On the other hand, Japan's currency is much weaker than the US dollar, even though Japan is a highly developed country. This is because Japan has a huge national debt, which keeps its currency value low. Investment. Other Gulf countries also have oil, and their currencies are strong too, but one more reason the Kuwaiti dinar is even stronger is foreign investment. Founded in 1953, the Kuwait Investment Authority is the world's oldest sovereign wealth fund. As of March 2025, it is the world's fifth largest sovereign wealth fund, with currently $1,029 billion invested around the world. As a result, everyone wants to hold dinar to invest in Kuwait, which is why the value of the dinar is extremely high. Another reason for this high value of the dinar is the stability of its currency. Unlike other currencies that constantly rise and fall, the dinar remains stable most of the time. The more stable a currency is, the more foreign investment a country attracts. But how is it so stable? You might already know that oil prices keep fluctuating due to changes in demand, and that would normally cause the dinar's value to fluctuate heavily too. This kind of system is called a floating exchange rate, where the value of a currency keeps changing based on market supply and demand. To avoid this instability, Kuwait pegged its dinar to a basket of currencies in 1975. Here, two technical terms are important: peg and basket of currencies. Pegging. Pegging means fixing your country's currency to the value of another country's currency. For example, after independence, Japan had its currency pegged to the US dollar. So if the dollar's value rose, the yen's value would also rise, and if the dollar dropped, the yen would drop too. However, this method is quite risky because it makes your economy dependent on another country's economy. In Kuwait, a similar fixed exchange method is used, but instead of tying their currency to just one country's currency, it is pegged to a basket of currencies, reducing the risk. Basket of currency. A basket of currencies means, imagine a basket where different foreign currencies like 20% US dollars, 30% euros, and other currencies are included in various proportions. And the value of your currency is decided based on the combined ratio of all these currencies, which reduces financial risk significantly. That's why the value of the Kuwaiti dinar doesn't fluctuate much. Apart from this, the value of any currency also depends on factors like the country's debt compared to its foreign reserves, GDP versus debt ratio, interest rates, imports versus exports, etc. Now let's talk about whether Kuwait can set the price of one dinar to $5 or even $10. Technically, yes, it can do that. But it would be extremely risky for Kuwait. That's because Kuwait follows a pegged or fixed exchange rate system, as I mentioned earlier. And in a fixed exchange rate system, the rule is that you must keep the exchange rate stable. For example, today the price of one Kuwaiti dinar is $3.26. But from where this value came? Because the current exchange rate between the dinar and the US dollar is 0.306. So Kuwait has to maintain this exchange rate more or less consistently. To do that, the country needs a very large and stable foreign exchange reserve. But for that, there must be a stable and secure global demand for its oil. However, in reality, oil demand and supply are highly unpredictable due to various factors and forces such as wars, geopolitical tensions, pandemics, etc. That's why, considering all these risky variables, an average and secure value is usually determined. Currently, that average is around $3.26. The word dinar is derived from denarius, name of an ancient Roman silver coin. Like most countries where $1 equals 100 cents, in Kuwait, one dinar is divided into 1,000 smaller units called fails, which is their term for coins. If you like our video, then please subscribe our channel and don't forget to like, share this video.